Thank you, Tracy, for joining us and sharing your story. Why don't we start by having you kind of tell us what happened with you?
So my story is a little bit unique. I mean, I was 43 and I had actually been really fatigued and a lot of different things were going on and I wasn't sure. And I went into my doctor, I did a bunch of blood work and I ended up having a brain tumor. And so what was going on was like, at first I thought, oh, am I going through menopause? Because I didn't have any of my periods. I didn't know, what was happening. And so with the fatigue and stuff, I actually went to a doctor, a Tibetan doctor, to get on some herbs. And then I asked Eric, I'm like, because I had been going to Eric for quite a while for migraines.
And by Eric, you mean Eric Hollander, who's an acupuncturist and Chinese herbalist in San Diego. Just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you. So I, was talking with Eric, hey, this is what's going on. And I said, I'm not, having any periods and everything else. And my hormones, I don't know, they were everything because of my tumor. So I started doing the herbs from my Tibetan doctor. And then Eric was switching up my acupuncture as well. And he's like, well, I'm just going to kind of treat you like, the women that I treat like they're wanting to get pregnant. Like I wasn't wanting to get pregnant. I don't even know if he told me that before or it happened after. But anyways, it was kind of tied to regulate everything that was going on with me. And that combination allowed my fatigue to go, probably 75% better. When I started that regime, I mean, literally like 4 to 5 months later, and this is where I feel like a spiritual aspect comes into it for me. A divine, there's another source out there. When you're ready and you accept it, it comes to you. But literally, like my grandmother was dying, and I got a message from her that says you can't fly because you're having a baby.
You can't what?
I can't fly to see her funeral because she's going to die because I'm having a baby. And I'm like, there's no way. It was in my head all day. And I'm like, this is weird. This is so strange. I'm like, no, I can't believe this is happening. And sure enough, I got the call. My grandmother died. And then I said, there's no way. There is just no way. And so I was working all day and I said, I'll just go and take a test. I had no period.
Goosebumps.
I had no periods. I had no, I'm going on this treatment stuff. I'm still being reviewed what kind of tumor I have. All these things are going on. And it said positive. And I was like, no way. So I was in shock, right? I mean, I was really in shock because I'm hearing this message and this stuff is going on. And I'm like, no one's going to believe me. It's just really interesting. And so I called my friend and at the time, my husband at the time, we were kind of having some problems, but it was one of those things where you just, I said, do you think this is real? Do you think this is real? And I said,
am I seeing double?
Yeah. And I said, I'm too old to have a baby. What am I going to do? And so that was my mindset at the time. And then I went and I said, no, I got to take a blood test. So I went and take a blood test. And sure enough, I said I was pregnant. And I was just like, well, this is definitely a divine intervention. It's a divine gift, a divine something. I don't even know. I said, and in my thinking, I was like, I didn't know you could just naturally get pregnant at 43.
You can. And that's why I'm having you on to share your story, to let other women know that it's totally possible, even when it's not intended, because, when that baby's lined up for you, because Tracy and I haven't talked, so she doesn't really know what I do. I work with clients in connecting them with their spirit babies.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So prior to them getting pregnant, I help them connect with their spirit babies and their guides. Oftentimes those would be relatives who are, who have transitioned. And that helps to create basically the plan for them in terms of how to get pregnant. And so for sure, those babies are lined up and ready to go. You were open in the sense that you just didn't have any resistance to it. And one of the things that the biggest thing that I teach my clients and women who are following me is they've got to let go of that, the blocks and the resistance to it, like of it, it's not going to be able to happen, of the age. You just weren't thinking, you weren't thinking about it. And you already had the baby lined up, and the baby just flowed right in.
So when I got the message, I knew it was true, but I wasn't, my ego was in resistance. My higher self wouldn't say, no, it's true. But it was like, no, that the human self was like, this can't be happening. But my intuitive and my higher self knew. I followed the message that my grandmother sent me before she passed.
Yeah.
And I knew the gift that was coming to me. And when we prepare ourselves, the womb, and I was preparing myself. I didn't know I was preparing myself,
That's right.
But I knew intuitionally that I needed to do something beyond what I was actually doing. I needed to change like the course of my treatment, I talked to Eric. I needed to some of my dietary stuff I needed to do. I needed to go gluten-free. I needed to cut some dairy. I needed to do a lot of things in that aspect. I wasn't preparing for my womb, but I was preparing my body so my body could function better, because I was so lethargic. I mean, I was just like, what is going on? And just by making those changes and accepting that, okay, this is what I have to do right now to help my body, it opened the path even more, not knowing that I opened that path. But
so going back to when you first went to Eric, you told him about, so didn't have energy, and that's really what you wanted to address. Did you have, pardon?
I had a lot of fatigue.
Yeah, a lot of fatigue. And so did you have your period? Like, what was your menstrual cycle like? Because what he focused on was regulating your menstrual cycle in order to help you to address the fatigue. So what was your menstrual cycle like?
I wasn't having one. That's the thing. So I had, because my tumor was on my pituitary, which my levels were high.
Okay.
So I wasn't even having so that's why I'm like, I wasn't even having a menstrual cycle.
So how long did you not have a menstrual cycle?
I'm trying to think back then. So it kind of stopped when I really noticed it would be periodic, and then it kind of just stopped. That's why I thought, am I going into early menopause? And then I had fatigue, and that's why I went in, because I thought it had been a couple months. Okay. I thought, I knew, I was like, I didn't feel I just felt fatigue. It wasn't the sign of being pregnant or anything. So that's when the doctors did all the blood work and they found out.
Yeah. It's amazing, because I'm an acupuncturist by training as well. Eric and I are peers, and we shared the same office. And so it's amazing to me that how acupuncture is so powerful, because you had, typically what we say is that if there's a physical issue, then it's not a whole lot that acupuncture can do anything for. But you actually disproved that, because you had a physical tumor sitting on the pituitary, pushing on the pituitary, affecting your hormones. And even in that situation, you still got pregnant. And so I really wanted to highlight that, because for most women in their 40s who are trying to get pregnant, they don't have a physical issue. It's functional, and it's actually of the mind. And so in terms of from a physical aspect, they're completely fine. And it's just really kind of shifting the mindset, shifting the perspective of the possibility of it happening, of having a baby being possible. That is really key. And so that's
right. Yeah, because when they do that testing, if your levels are higher, I can't remember exactly what the level they're saying, but what happens is your eggs, they don't produce. And
was it the prolactin level?
Yeah, prolactin, that's it. Sorry. They were very, very high, like beyond, because I had a pretty large tumor, and then it started going down my brain stem. So there was a lot of activity going on there. That's why, my body's just, that's why I said Cole is a miracle. And I know it was because something sparked this body. And the soul was ready, like, hey, you just need you just need to keep going this way, change your diet, do this, do that, and I say, it can happen, because even if your body says, no, it can't, it can. Physically, I mean, with all the stuff that was going on with me, because there's no way. So for that to happen, I was like, wow. Even my doctors were like,
they're floored.
Oh yeah. They
want to write a case study on you.
Oh, they've been, they kind of did. Because I went to the VA, so I'm a vet, so they're always writing case studies. Okay, this is like unbelievable. So it's out there somewhere.
Are you in a journal somewhere?
Yeah, I'm sure I am. Yeah.
So what ended up happening with your brain tumor? How did that resolve?
So like 2 years after I had Cole, then I went in for surgery. And so they removed some of it, but some of my tumor had spread, so they weren't able to remove all of it. And they basically said, just try to keep doing what you're doing. And they felt like success. Of course, I had some like cognitive issues and some other things that happened from that. But the good thing is that I still been doing acupuncture. I'm still there.
Yes.
And my brain tumor grew when I was working, and so the stress of my job and everything, so it started growing a little bit, and I was like, oh my gosh. My doctor was like, you need to like think about maybe retiring. And I said, really? And I said, okay. And it's really hard, it's that other thing where life's saying you need to do something and you're not wanting to listen. And then I got to a point where I basically thought I was having a stroke and said, no, you need to stop. So I stopped working, and then I kept doing my acupuncture. But what I realized is the acupuncture kept me steady, and from that point it hasn't grown. It was the stress that I was allowing into my body, and not realizing, so far it's been a long time now, over 10 years, and my tumor remains the same, and my doctors are amazed. They're like, I can't believe it.
That's, I'm so glad to hear that. I figured things had worked out because,
Yeah.
And so but I wasn't sure how it had turned, in what direction. So I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah. And it's another blessing, because we had COVID and I had to become a homeschool teacher. I had always worked all my life, was in the military, and then worked ran a big, huge office at the VA. And then all of a sudden, now the gift of me finally being a stay-at-home mom, and I could help him. And it's actually a really good blessing. So, so all these blessings do show up. You just have to be open to them.
Yes, you do have to be open to receive them, for sure. Yes, for sure. And that's part of the work for a lot of women, because we have difficulty receiving. We're not taught to receive. We're taught to constantly give and give and give. And we never, we don't learn how to receive very easily. And that's part of the journey.
It is part of the journey. And I think too, like, when you're wanting to have a child, I mean, it's receiving, right? You have to prepare yourself to receive.
Yeah.
Because it's
physical receiving of the sperm and of the baby.
Yeah. And all of that. I mean, there's the whole gift there for you waiting, but it's not, the timing is, not when we want it. But once we open to the receiving, once we say, I would say, okay, I got it. That's the intuition. Say, okay, I got this now. I understand. Yeah. I need to change some things, and then just allow. It's, once I guess what I want to say is, once you surrender, then you're able to allow things to come in and show up the way that it's there for you. For each of us collectively, it's different.
Yeah. And it's interesting because in the surrendering, you experience freedom, because you no longer, or at least personally for me, I no longer feel the need to control things so much, to control situations, to control people, to just control every aspect. It's just like, now, I understand the process of just ask just ask for what you want and just stay in the knowing that just because I want it, I deserve it. I don't need to earn it. I don't need to prove that I'm good enough to have it. There's nothing to prove. Just the fact
Right.
that I'm here is enough. And I think, a lot of women have a little bit of difficulty.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it's also too, it's like, I feel like blessing the body. I did some priestess work over in Ireland and learned how to, there's a lot of like with the womb and opening the womb and, the different stages that we go through and just blessing our bodies and, and that goes back to the surrendering and allowing and not controlling, like you were saying, because when we're brought up in like that, more of a male dominant thing, we forget we have this goddess, this divine energy that we can pull in and bless ourselves and do all these ritual things. And that's such another gift that when we open to that, even if we're or want to have power, there's more power in the divine feminine than there is in the other direction.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I totally believe that for sure. And it's, it can be a challenge for a lot of women, for most women in Western culture, because we're brought up in a very masculine society where being productive, being action oriented, is constantly doing, that's what's being taught, and that's what's being, applauded. And, we're groomed that way. And so it isn't really until, for many women, until we hit our 30s, 40s, even, beyond that, where we really kind of connect with that divine feminine.
Mm-hmm.
And when the sooner that we connect with that, then the more powerful that we become in being deliberate creators, and just creating what we want.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel that that's part of the journey too. I mean, it's a journey. Being, wanting to tap into motherhood is a journey. And even for those that, can't do that, it's still, there's always a mother in us. There's a mother in us that takes care of other things. We need to mother our planet and mother animals and once you tap into the goddess, the feminine, you do become a mother.
I love that you pointed that out, because for many women, their sense of being a mother is just in this one aspect. And I personally don't believe that, even though there's a calling to bear children, I don't think our soul comes in wanting to be that constricted in terms of what a mother should look like.
Right.
That's one experience, and that's one manifestation of being a mother, but it's not really the end all be all. I believe that that's driven by our human biology and by the ego and by culture.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, that's one thing that I've learned, working with the goddess and working with the earth, it's just, we are here to mother our planet and mother the things that are around us. And yes, it's a gift too, if we can mother or bear children. Right. But there's also other children that need mothering. There's my cousin, she couldn't have children, but she became a huge mother figure for her niece and nephew. So there's if it's a physical human being, but some pets, and there's just so many other things, plants, and just everything. There's other people that need guidance and support. Absolutely. And so it's a beautiful gift just to be the divine feminine, and however our mothering shows up that's what, that's the intuition, that's the part that we tap into. I feel that if someone's on the journey, to have a child, also look into, what kind of mother am I right now?
Yeah.
And because that can also open another gate for them.
Right. To be able to express that mother energy in different ways, whether it's working with other children in, maybe a mentor capacity, working with working with the earth, that's mothering as well, as you've mentioned. Yeah, so there are different ways of expressing mother, and the more that they can express that now while they're, on the baby journey, then the more it helps to build that momentum to the physical baby that they want.
Right. And then that spirit will be like, okay, I see what you're doing. No, I'll come.
You're ready. I see that you're ready. Yeah, for sure.
You're ready.
Definitely.
Yeah. Because there's a lot of spirits that want to incarnate in the body. It's not an easy thing to incarnate in a body.
No, because it's so dense. Our physical bodies are so dense, and there's such light energy. Oh, I love that we're talking about this. I'd love to hear your just because you are obviously so connected to spirit and so intuitive, what your perception has been in terms of, let's expand on what you just said about how difficult it is to come into the physical body.
Yeah, you hit the key right there. Density. The earth is dense. Mm-hmm. So the earth plane is very dense. And so right now, we have a lot of extremely light beings wanting to incarnate. Mm-hmm. So that's why a lot of preparation has to go into the person that is wanting to bear these children, because they are light workers. Yeah. And so when you do the preparation, it prepares their soul, because their soul's so bright, because they have so much that they want to offer in gifts. And that's what's coming in right now. So like you said, density. If we're dense in our ego mm-hmm. and our power yeah. and all that stuff that we're taught, of course, these light beings, you're not making it easy for them to come in.
No. And it goes back to that receptivity of being the open, right? And right. Because if you're really in the masculine, nothing wrong with masculine. We need the masculine. We need divine masculine. But when as a feminine, as a woman, if you're always in that masculine energy, it's such contracted, such forceful energy. It's the kind of energy, I'm going to grind and power through whatever challenges. That's not a receptive energy. It's an energy that pushes out.
Right.
And this light energy wants to come in, and you have to be this open receptacle, because your body is just basically a receptacle. The physical body is just a container. Mm-hmm. That's all it is. It's a dense container, physically dense container that is relative. It's low frequency as compared to the light frequency of the spirit babies. And so you, as a future mother, you yourself have to be open enough in terms of your energy to receive that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Because the density of the earth, it's the gravity pull. We're in this gravity pull. And so when we're in a gravity pull, but we incarnate because we learn how to be a human being.
Is there one last message that you want to give for women who are on this motherhood journey and just having a difficult time?
Yeah, I would just say because each individual collectively, just take time to start doing, self-care, self-reflection, have that knowingness that whatever the divine plan is for you, that it's already in motion. You just have to get out of the way. It's there for you. It's just once we get out of the way of the ego and step, from being up here to mind and come back to your heart, and then just follow those leads, follow that. Oh, should I, if something shows up and it feels like you need to be there, I would say, go try it, go try something that is, help guide you even further. If it's got to change your diet. Well, I totally believe in acupuncture. So, mm-hmm. I mean, that's the number one thing.
Number one, I tell my clients, go get acupuncture with your local acupuncturist.
Yeah. I mean, I would say definitely get acupuncture, because I do acupuncture every other week. I mean, it's just to keep me balanced, to keep my hormones, to keep everything, even going now into the other stage of life. Yeah. So I just feel that, if you just follow your intuition, and I feel like they found you for a purpose, mm-hmm. a reason. Yeah. I mean, that's a number one right there.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Really great guidance. I do want to put a little caveat on the self-care, that when women do the self-care, that they be very present with it. And that it is about the self-care. It's not like whatever the self-care means, whether it's a massage, they're not doing that self-care. And then on the other hand, they have their phone in front of them. That's not self-care.
No,
I
no.
just want to make sure that women understand self-care is about really focusing and being present on what lights you up, what brings you joy, what nourishes you, and really staying focused on that.
Right. Yeah. It's the energy behind the self-care, because it can't be the energy like, oh, I've got to be on this diet and now I got to, it's like, no. You have to let it evolve. You have to let it flow.
It's not a checklist.
Absolutely not a checklist. It has to be like, oh, you have to enjoy it. You have to bring joy to it, because if you don't bring joy to it, then it can take you off the path and you're just going to be like, why am I even doing this?
Yeah. That's resistance right there.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you, Tracy, so much for spending your time. This conversation totally developed in a far different way than I expected, but I loved it. So I really appreciate you spending the time with me.